Howdy, guys. Welcome to night 54 of Big Brother All-Stars, and this is Cliff Notes from outside the Big Brother house. Hope y'all had a great weekend, a good Monday morning to y'all. What's been happening inside the Big Brother house? Well, I'll tell you what I know, but we had the feeds down for a little bit, so we got little gaps in there as well that we'll talk about. As I mentioned, feeds were down for about 4 hours. They eventually came on about 11 o'clock or so, Big Brother West Coast time. One rumor of another wall yeller. They did have the outdoors. Rumor of a wall yeller, but I haven't gotten any confirmation of that since they came back in the house. So I don't know what was going on, but we did lose the feeds for quite a period of time. But before the feeds shut down, let's talk about a couple of conversations that occurred there, and then we'll talk about when the feeds came back. First of all, before the feeds shut down, let's talk about the HOH room. Cody, Enzo, Tyler, and Nicole are all talking. Cody is recounting his earlier follow-up conversation. If y'all recall, Cody and Kevin had a conversation right before the nominations. Didn't go so well. Got a little upset with each other, a little bit heated. Well, Cody is saying, hey, Kevin and I talked since then. Basically, we made up. We buried the hatchet after that bad conversation. We're doing much better. They kind of talked it out and everything. And so he's still planning on sending Kevin home, but at least they were able to talk out a little bit. So that they talk about that for just a moment. Nicole leaves. The feeds cut for a little while. Feeds then come back again. They're still up there. The other house guest. They're talking about the fact that Christmas apparently now knows that Cody was talking about backdooring her a few days ago. They all suspect that it was Danny who gave that information to Christmas. It probably was. Cody is talking about saying, hey, I just want to talk to Christmas, maybe see if she'll tell me if Danny's the one that gave her the info. And I want to tell her that I wouldn't have put her up. Even as a pawn, I wouldn't have put her up. In fact, if I was looking for a pawn, Enzo, I probably would have put you up. Well, Enzo kind of says, what? Wait, what are you talking about? And he says, yeah, I would put you up, Enzo, because no one would vote you out. And Enzo said, we're not at the start. We're deep into this game. That's a little bit risky, don't you think? And Cody said, no, you would have been fine. I would have put you up. I don't think Enzo's completely sold on the idea, but it doesn't matter. We're going to have the veto ceremony later this morning. I fully expect Cody to sit on that veto, not use it on anyone else. So it's a bit of a moot point, but it got Enzo a little bit nervous when it was mentioned. Enzo is also talking about Christmas or Danny and saying, look, Danny doesn't know that everyone's into her, and she needs to be on the block next week. Whoever gets this, the HOH, we need to get her on the block. Tyler is saying, why are we keeping her around since no one trusts her? She spills info. Everything we tell her, she goes off and tells other people. Why are we keeping Danny? So we certainly have a large group of the committee who is ready to put Danny on the block. They may get their chance on Thursday, depending on who gets the HOH in this triple eviction, right? So we shall see. All right, so at that point, we lose feeds. Again, they were down for about 4 hours or so. Eventually, they come back, and what has changed? Nothing at all that I can tell. But we do have some little hints about something that may have occurred. David is talking about, they're all in the kitchen or in the bathroom, showering, and in the kitchen fixing food and everything. David is talking about playing volleyball just now and being so tired, so exhausted from playing. So if they've been outside, maybe. Tyler later tells Danny as well. He says, man, you were going nuts with that volleyball out there. You had a real 70s look to you and everything, but you were going crazy with the volleyball. So it sounds like they may have been outside playing some kind of volleyball game of some sort at some point while these feeds were down. At another point, David also talks directly to the cameras and says, hey, what's up, live feeders? Welcome back. So it sounds like they knew that the live feeds have been gone, which suggests to me that it was a more planned outage. For what reason? Again, we don't know. Another thing, at one point, one of the girls can be heard asking in the background, were we supposed to be shrunk or were we supposed to be blown up? I don't know what that means. Were they filming a special segment or doing something? We don't know. And then finally, Kevin and Danny are sitting at the kitchen table. They're looking at pictures on, it looks like probably a digital camera. And they're saying Ian did smile. Ian, who's supposed to be in the jury house, was Ian here for some kind of special something or another? or these pictures from past weeks, and they got this camera back to take new photos. Don't really know. David later talks to the cameras again and says, hey, my social media people, could you please find and post that epic picture of myself and Nicole? And Nicole's there, and it sounds like they're talking about a picture that was just taken this evening. So again, maybe they got the digital camera back. They got to take some more pictures, and then we're looking at pictures from the past. But it's all a bit of a guesswork at this point because no one said exactly what was going on. But we do have the feeds back, so now we're expecting all kinds of amazing gameplay and game strategy, right? Yeah, not so much. We get a zero game talk. The house guests, primarily sitting around the kitchen, have talked about vegan food, fast food, Jimmy John's, Taco Bell's, all the greats. Tyler majoring in exercise science, and that's where he really started looking at healthy foods. Danny having a very 70s look. Memphis's hair after the shower is all slicked down. They're laughing, saying it looks like a toupee when it's wet and combed down like that. Danny is talking about teaching kids and how much has been lost with the COVID effects going on. They're talking about how horribly chickens are treated. Yeah, we got a lot of conversations going here throughout the evening. They're talking about their favorite animated retro movies, Back to the Future, Toy Story, Bug's Life, all the greats. They're talking about meeting celebrities after their past seasons. Just a lot of different discussions going on. Eventually, however, without ever any gameplay, we finally get down to Tyler, Danny, David, and Cody are still in the kitchen. They're still not talking game. And soon after that, just as we started the broadcast, I noticed that even they eventually shut it down, and everyone's getting ready to bed, getting ready to go to bed. So that's about it for the overnight feeds. Now, I have a little extra time, so I thought while I'm at it, we've got this triple eviction coming up on Thursday. And I want to do a little investigating, a little thinking about how this thing may work since we've never had triple eviction here in the United States. But we have had several up in Canada, so that may give us an indication of how that's going to work. Now, for the point of this little exercise, let's assume that Kevin is going to be evicted on Thursday as the first person out the door. That seems probable at this point. So normally Kevin is evicted. If it was a double eviction, then we would have the HOH competition. 2 people are nominated. The veto competition is held, and maybe someone pulls off, maybe not. But at that point, someone is voted out. That's the double eviction. You vote someone out at the very beginning, then you vote another person out after a real quick HOH and veto competition, and that finishes up. Now, could you then have another HOH competition, another nomination, another veto competition, and another eviction? So you send someone out the door, maybe an hour later, you send someone else out the door, you have more competitions, and then at the end of the 2-hour block, you send a third person out the door. It is a 2-hour show on next Thursday, so it is possible they've got the time to do that. But here's the thing. Do they have the room to do that many competitions? That backyard, and especially with COVID restrictions and such, do they have room back there for 2 HOH competitions, 2 veto competitions, and possibly another HOH competition that would be held after the show is over to name the next HOH? That seems like a lot of competitions to be held in a small space. It may not be possible. So let's talk about how the Canadians have done it with their triple evictions, which may be more feasible. In that situation, we start off with the same scenario. The very first of the evening, Kevin, most likely, someone is voted out the door. Then the HOH competition is once again held. But now, instead of picking 2 nominees like we've seen all season long, the HOH is responsible for picking 3 nominees to go on the block. At that point, a veto competition is held. The HOH does not compete in the veto competition, at least up in Canada, the way they do it. But they have a veto competition. Whoever wins can pull one of those 3 off the block. If that's the case, the HOH then has to put someone else on the block. Now, that means you could potentially have 4 separate people on the block. The first 3, someone pulls off, and then the HOH has to put someone else up. That's a lot of people getting put up on the block and a lot of blood on the hands of whoever wins this HOH, right? But at that point in time, you then, after the veto ceremony, you now have 3 people on the block yet again. And at that point, you've got 3 people on the block again. Now you have the vote. The difference, however, is you aren't voting to send someone home. Everyone votes on who they want to save. Interesting, isn't it? So you're voting on someone who you want to save. The person who with the most votes is saved. The other 2 walk out the door. So you've got Kevin, 2 more people walking out the door. That's your triple eviction competition at that point in time. Now, if you do that, think about it this way. We've got 8 people after Kevin. The HOH is going to have to pick 3 people out of the 7. And at that point, that means there's only 4 people voting in this competition. So we've got a very limited number of people. That means 2 people voting to save a person, along with the HOH as the tiebreaker, could save the person who's going to stay. So it isn't going to take many votes. There's a little bit of a strategy, I think, involved in, do you put up 3 people that are all aligned together? Do you put up 1 person who is your absolute pawn that's on your side, and then 2 people, say a Danny and Nicole, or Christmas and a Memphis, 2 people from the other side and let both of them walk out the door? It's going to be interesting. It's not going to be something that anyone has thought of at all. So it's going to be fun on Thursday. Now, I don't know. Maybe we are going to have all the HOH competitions, all the vetoes, just like we do with the regular show, and add on that last hour. Or we could go with the Canadian version. Either way, again, we could have 4 people. We should have 4 different people on the block, or at least 3 people. So there's going to be a lot of burned egos, a lot of people a little upset at the end of that evening, which is going to make this incredibly fun. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and shut it down. Again, not a whole lot happening tonight, but I want to take the chance to talk about that triple eviction, since it is going to be an American first when we do it. So y'all have a great Monday. Again, we do have the veto ceremony later this morning, so we'll know about that by the time we talk on tomorrow morning, Tuesday morning. Also, just a reminder, Cliff Notes Live is going to be held tonight. It's free on it's live, and it's free on the TV Co-app. 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. Be answering all of y'all's questions. We'll just have a conversation back and forth all about Big Brother. We'll talk about the triple eviction and everything else. Guys, y'all have a fantastic start of the week. A happy Monday to y'all. I will see y'all tonight on the TV Co-app. I'll see y'all again 24 hours out here. We'll talk about what happened overnight. Y'all have a great one, guys. SKD 143. Cheers.